Hello, MotorsportReg organizers. This is Tim from our MotorsportReg customer success team. This will be part of the FormBuilder series where we dive into building event registration forms. This video will dive into the parts bin here, this section of the registration form, and exactly what that does. To start off, the parts bin is where all your puzzle pieces live that we'll use to put together an event registration. There are a couple different sections that are relevant here, and they'd all be in this little section at the top. First one that we'll take a look at would be packages. Next will be questions, where you can ask different relevant things that you'll want to know when somebody's signing up ahead of time for an event. And finally, the co-driver picker. If you have a situation where maybe someone's sharing a car or you want to have a crew registration, they're choosing whoever their driver is that's already signed up for the event. So these are the default choices that you get when you do set up a new event from scratch on MotorsportReg. We have our default registration fee, and when you click into any of your packages, a package to start is anything that you want to either charge for. It can be like a free registration option, something like lunch that you'd pay for, the registration itself in this case, or say like a car entry for an event, or anything that you want any sort of inventory count on. And that's what we'll see over here on the right-hand side. The name is what this will show up as on the registration. So I like to think of this as if I was going to sign up for an event with a paper entry form, what would I expect my choices to look like? Like say Saturday track day entry, Sunday track day entry. So try to use that mindset when coming up with a title for these. And then obviously you can put a price on those. You will want to create multiple different puzzle pieces here for different price points, since if you do change one of these midway through a registration, like say the price goes up after a certain date, if you just change it right here and have only one registration fee, it'll retroactively change that fee for all other participants who have already signed up as well. So looking through here, we have our pre-registration limits. These would set how many of these you can purchase. So say we'll leave it at a max of one, since like say a track day participant, you only want them signing up once, unless they're bringing multiple cars, then that might be an exception. Default would just be whether it checks the box for them or not to begin. If you have multiple day options, you probably want to leave that at 0 so they can just choose a la carte which days they'd like. And then we can have minimums. So if you have like a registration where no matter what, you have to choose an entry fee, it might be helpful to just save them the click and have that set for a minimum of 1. And finally, you can do a free entry as well if you like. Next down here would be the inventory itself. So you have the inventory name, which if you just hit this green button here to add a new inventory item, it'll just copy whatever the title is for that piece. So we'll copy or get rid of that one since it's a duplicate. But for the inventory here, you'll have the inventory name for whatever you're using, then the number available. So that would be your actual limit that you're setting on these. So say this 100 default number would be the maximum number of entries. And 0 in MotorsportReg is equal to unlimited. So if you leave it set to 0, then there's no limit. It will not sell out at any point. It'll allow an unlimited number of those. So say like lunch in this case. And sold to date, if you have a registration in progress, that'll show you how many of those different items have been purchased throughout registration. And then finally, this little red X, which gives you opportunity to delete it. Right now I'm using registration fee on the layout, which is why it wouldn't let me get rid of that, but now it should. There we go, that fixed it. And then you can check out your other options here, such as waitlisting, accepting credits and discounts if you have those available within your organization. And finally, the package extension that you see here on the classic FormBuilder. This is where you make your choice between whether it's just a regular item that you could purchase on here, which just a standard package product, those you'd use for things that you only need like an inventory count of, like say lunches, give me like 6 turkey sandwiches that I'll have to provide for my drivers. It won't give you any of that additional information beyond that, like what class or a group somebody signed up for, what vehicle they're going to bring to the event in this case. So let's go ahead and we'll add in a group and a vehicle for this one. And this will be our track day registration. There we go. We'll use that puzzle piece. And then it's just a simple click and drag over to the layout to see what it'll look like on here. And you could do for contrast, like say something like a t-shirt here, you don't have any of those details that you're collecting, mainly just what the product is, how many of those I can choose. So let's see what that looks like if you give 5 available. If you do have multiple options, then you get this little drop down box to see however many somebody can check. And this whole page is interactive right here as well. So you can choose whatever you like, test it out. Any error messages that you would get, you will get live here on the FormBuilder. So that'll pretty much cover it for the packages. Quick way to see how these work would be our MotorsportReg flowchart. So this you can actually find right on our support website, support.motorsportreg.com, and download this to get a easier way to understand them. And this is an example down here of exactly what you'd use them for in like a real life example, such as like getting your inventory limits. But this is what we're looking at right here at the products. An entry you'll use to get additional information, whereas just a regular product, mainly just give me the number of how many do we need for this event. So that'll cover the packages. Next would be the questions. So if you use the little plus icon here, that's how we'll create one from scratch. The common one that I hear from our organizers. So this exactly what it is. Whatever the title is what the question is that it'll ask of your participants. It will default to a yes/no question, but we have several formats here that you can choose from. Date, if it's something like a date of birth that you're looking for, or maybe the expiration date for like a medical credential or a license expiration. Then text is our most free-form answer, so that if you just want a blank box there for them to fill out. And then you can either require or leave this optional depending on your preference. And with the text or essay answer, you have the opportunity here to give them different answers. So say we could even use it for like a yes, no to make a drop-down menu. If you have several choices, like say a how did you hear about us, you can select multiple answers that they can choose. But let's just save that, see what it looks like. Click and drag it over to our registration. And there we go. Now we have our question here on the registration form. Since I use those pre-selected choices, you can see those populate right here. So say even if I change it to add a silly one, add that in. And a comma will separate any of these values. You don't have to have spaces between them, but a comma will give you those different choices on there. So say we even have my silly answer on there now to choose from. So that would cover any questions. That can cover many different things, and they're pretty easy to pull onto reports. Questions are all or nothing on reports, though. So either you get all of the event questions or none of those. So it may take a little bit of doctoring up in Excel if you like to afterward to narrow down which questions you want. So finally, let's take a look at a co-driver picker option. Let's make this track day co-driver. Previous registered drivers. And let's just clone this. So if you click on this little wrench guy, this actually gives you these same choices. If you right click on anything in the parts bin, you can also get these same options as well. So we can clone, which will make a copy of it. We can refresh, which will exactly that, just refresh the page. Typically, I like to do this from the browser level up here. I find that just makes a little bit more reliable operation and gives me a more up-to-date, exactly what this looks like version. So let's take this clone. We'll make this a co-driver. So since this is a second driver, we'll say it's like $100 entry, something cheaper, but you're going to have to choose whoever already signed up for the primary spot and collect the same details here. And now let's create a quick group here on the layout. What that'll do is make them choose between the two. We'll require that registration option in there, and then our co-driver. So I don't have a great example to show you how this will work right now since nobody's registered for the event yet, but when you clear this out, say we choose this co-driver option, I'll select my car and group as I would before. So say if our first person is an intermediate driver, obviously your second person sharing the car is going to want to choose advanced or novice unless they both want half the track time throughout the day. But let's drag in that co-driver. And what that'll do when we nest it under this track day co-driver option is populate a box when you choose that to choose who your other primary driver is. So say we'll get rid of the primary registration, co-driver, and then here you go. This will populate a list of everybody who's already registered for the event. And they do have to complete a registration with checkout in order for that to work. But then you'll see a list of previously registered drivers and be able to choose yours in order to complete your event registration. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. The best place would be by email to support@motorsportreg.com, and we'll be happy to help. Enjoy the rest of your week.